welcome in everybody. Happy Monday, happy MLK Day, and welcome back in. Hope you guys had a good weekend. I know, look, I understand Sunday night's game in Baltimore, game in Buffalo, I should say, definitely dampened the spirits of what could have been an exciting week moving into the AFC Championship game. Unfortunately, not the case for the Ravens. Buffalo's advancing to face the Chiefs. We'll dive into all of that in a little bit and really break this down. And joining us later on, Qadry Ismail is going to come on and talk about some of the big moments. And look, there's just a ton to digest here, and then obviously get into some baseball conversations. Tony Tater's found a new home, and it's back in the American League East, just not with the Baltimore Orioles. And the Dodgers, I guess, are going to try to be competitive this year. They just keep making some moves. So all of that, maybe we'll have another guest that joins us. But who is with us today from the Ryan Ripken Show? We got Brad behind the scenes. Brad, how we doing? And Kevin, both. There's a double whammy.
Yeah, good, man. Obviously, you said it best. Would have loved to have had a much better outcome last night, but yeah, you know what? I was reflecting on this. We're still fortunate enough to actually be able to be in these games each and every year. You know, I was kind of like telling myself, it's like, man, it's like every single year we're like experiencing this heartbreak, but we're actually fortunate. We could be fans of the Browns or something like that, right? So trying to look at the silver lining today.
Yeah, for sure. And Kevin, how are you? Love the mustache.
Yeah, it's going. This was my playoff mustache, and I am very look. If there's any silver lining in this loss, is that I can finally shave this thing off because it's getting out of hand. And look, I would have done it if they kept on winning. I wish that I wouldn't be shaving for a couple more weeks, but you know, I can't believe we're here again. I can't believe it's over. It's you know, what is it? Don't smile because it's over. What's the saying?
Don't cry because or smile because it happened.
Yes, smile because it happened, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of smiling. But I like Brad's positive outlook on everything. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I mean, and look, I'll say this, and this is kind of how we're going to open up the show because we're going to dive into this from so many different angles here. Your boy just got back from Buffalo a couple hours ago, right? And I mean, running on fumes. But perspective here, and again, it doesn't mean that it's not disappointing. Because the ultimate goal in Baltimore, the culture that's set, go to win a Super Bowl, right? Like that, there's anything less than that is going to be a disappointment. But being up there and being around the lots and talking with the locals there, you want to talk about a team that hasn't had a lot to cheer for until Josh Allen rose to what he has been. That's been the Bills fans. Like they're talking about decades and being in there and it's snowing, it's cold. And some of the initial questions I asked was, you know, how'd you develop this type of culture? He goes, buddy, you got to really love the community and the people around you. And we love the Bills even when we knew they weren't very good from the beginning. So, like, they have the perspective. Brad, you mentioned about the Browns. The Browns haven't been to the Super Bowl. The Texans that were just in the playoffs and lost to the Chiefs yet to advance to an AFC Championship game. So there's so many other parts here. But again, we feel like we're having the same story that's been told for the Baltimore Ravens, which is falling short. And there is the stat out there that the Ravens have the most wins over the last 7 seasons and not have a Super Bowl appearance. So we'll get into that. But I want to tell you guys about my trip to Buffalo for a second. Can we have a good moment here to start off the show? You guys saw some of it. I'll be honest, I was feeling pretty good. I was trying to stay warm, to say the least. It was 8 degrees, but I'll tell you what, it felt like 55. And the Buffalo community, I got to say, man, I think the Ravens are going to Buffalo next year. I'm in. I'm already there. I cannot express how welcoming Buffalo is. The traditions, yeah, of course, there were some people throwing out some other gestures. But everyone's common goal was, hey, if you beat us, we hope you go instead of the Chiefs. I think everyone's ready for the Chiefs' reign to end, but don't know if that's happening anytime soon. But let me give you some other pictures and videos I put together here of my experience up in Buffalo. So don't judge me. This was me looking at all the stuff before I went out into the elements, okay? So for the record, They said to have snow goggles in case it's so cold or it's snowing and you want to protect your eyes. So there's the look. Got to say, looking pretty good. That's 4 layers on right there. Jacket, sweatshirt, and then 2 other layers underneath. But then as we continue on this process, I just hiked through the lots. And that's actually the new stadium, which is right next to the old stadium, going to be up in 2026. And yeah, it was frosty. And the lake effect was in effect that night. It wasn't supposed to snow for the game. It sure as hell did. And that was just one part of the journey here. I got to see where I ended up or where the content was from. It was over here at really one of the staples of the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia and the tailgating. So there are 2 characters that people have come to know, and that is Pinto Ron. And then right there in the apron, that's Pizza Pete. And Pete actually, did I tell you guys how this all came about? Did we even talk about this much?
No.
So shout out Greg Cullen. Greg, former player with the Orioles organization, friend of the show. Got to get him on for this experience. But Greg is a big Bills fan. He came to the Ravens-Bills game in Baltimore. Unfortunately, brutal ending for the Ravens. Had the big lead at the half. Bills won in that rainy game, but, who remembers that? But Greg and I always talked about it. He said, hey, you should make your way up to Buffalo. So I texted Greg. And I said, hey, man, I'm looking for a good experience. You going? He said, I got to sit this one out, but I got a guy. You should text my buddy Nick. So I text Nick, and in an instant, Nick responds, hey, we got the perfect place to go. And then he goes, oh, by the way, I don't know if you know much about, how this is, but here's we were with Pinto Ron and my dad's Pizza Pete. And I'm like, wait a minute, like Pizza Pete, if you go on the Barstool or Dave Portnoy does the reviews, you'll see the Pizza Pete got rated, the best pizza in Buffalo. And I got to tell you guys, he makes pizza out of a file cabinet. It was amazing. I think I ate some on the stream. I can't remember exactly. I remember, I just can't remember. And there's Pinto Ron right there who gets doused in ketchup and mustard for almost every single game, except he didn't do it yesterday. But we found out he has like 8 gallons of hot water, and he uses almost like a shower head, and he'll clean himself off on days when it's not below freezing. Right there in that photo, it's about 8 degrees, snow's coming down. It was a blast. So I'm trying to go through a few more of these, but what I loved is like these people just embraced us. Like they were like, hey, and then they got mad at me for not getting in on the tradition more. So this case, you're going to see, I'll let the clip play out. I didn't dip it well enough. I didn't dip the bread well enough. So let's play this video real quick. And actually, you can hear them.
Welcome to Buffalo! Yeah, there we
go. And then, like, picturesque, honestly, for the game. Like, flurries, everyone's in their seats. I got to say, when Ryan Fitzpatrick came out of the tunnel as their legend, and they did, where would you rather be? No place you'd rather be than right here, right now. That was pretty electric. So shout out to Buffalo. I hope the best for them. It was a hell of a game, hell of an experience. If you haven't been, you need to go. Like, I don't know any other way to draw it up here. Guys, we're finding a way to get to Buffalo moving forward. It's a bucket list if you're an NFL fan. Bucket list by far. And Kevin, I did do the bowling ball shot.
Yes. Although I'm very sad we do not have video evidence of that.
Yeah, it did taste like cough syrup, 1,000%.
Hate to see
but also Ryan Fitzmagic was supposed to come by, but he had to get ready for his role. And yeah, man, it was an unbelievable setting. So the positivity of being up there, the experience, heard in Buckaroo today, but as far as going there, amazing. Now let's move into the game a little bit because it was a hell of a game. Like if you're a football fan, it's a hell of a game. But guys, as we obviously know, it wasn't the result that Baltimore fans wanted. You know, it was one of those things where you kind of sit there and you keep thinking about, I feel like I've heard this story, or it's a different story, but same ending, right? Is that fair to say, Brad? Like we were kind of talking about this coming on. It was another heartbreaking moment. You could argue that this loss, the way it happened, probably was more heartbreaking given what it was. And it was a game, again, that Baltimore very well could have won and would have went away from the Super Bowl once again.
They should have won, honestly. I mean, if you take away the turnovers, the Bills had no business winning this game. I mean, the only thing that you could say that Josh Allen did better than Lamar Jackson last night was that he didn't turn the ball over. And because everything else was not great. I mean, the Bills were out rushed. They were out passed. I mean, all the Ravens had to do was just not turn the ball over. And obviously they couldn't do that. And that's why we're hurting today.
Yeah, definitely for sure. And Eli, I see you talking about Eagles Commanders. We'll talk about the Commanders later on here shout out to them, by the way, going back. And now apparently in the NFC, the only team that hasn't gone to an NFC championship game in the last 3 decades is the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
So, woof. But Kev, I think it is the conversation. And look, I think each year and going into this year, it was, all right, the Ravens just needed that one more piece. You know, we get this one piece, they're going to go. This year, that piece was you get Derrick Henry. You felt like that's the guy that we're going to have in the postseason, and there's no way that we can lose. Now, Derrick didn't get 20 carries, and the Ravens, I believe, were 11-0 when Derrick gets 20 or more carries. But, Kevin, it's not like they went away from the run. They ran it 30-some times. Derrick had 16 touches, average 5 a carry. Justice Hill had a great game. You know, I don't think there was a spot specifically where you go, well, what else did the Ravens need? It feels like they've had the pieces all along. It's more of the execution.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, the Ravens abandoned their identity because they didn't. It was not nearly as egregious as we saw in the championship game last season. Could they have run the ball more in certain spots? Yes. I don't think it was a wonderful, exquisite Todd Monken game. I think a couple of examples you can point to with that is throwing the ball on 2nd and goal from the 2 after you had a really good rushing success. That to me didn't make sense. And obviously Lamar Jackson takes a sack there and it puts you in a bad spot. I think the first 2-point conversion play, they probably should have run it with Derrick Henry after they used almost that entire drive running the ball down the Bills' throats. Instead, it's a pass play and the ball gets deflected at the line. So the Ravens in this game averaged nearly 6 yards per carry. I mean, they averaged 5.9, and that's with Mark Andrews having those 2, tight end push quarterback sneaks, and that's 1.5 yards. So, I mean, the way that the Bills were stopping the run early, the Ravens had to make adjustments, and they did. I thought it was a much better second half all around for Baltimore, but especially offensively, where the run game really started to get going, and it felt like every run it was either Justice Hill for 9, Derrick Henry for 12, Derrick Henry for 8. It felt like they were getting things going. But when you get behind like that, it is going to change some of the things you do. And I'm glad that the Ravens just didn't go down 21-10 and just abandon the run altogether. I'm glad that they stuck with it. It worked for them. I would have liked to see Derrick Henry get maybe 20 carries is that number, but I'm not going to sit here and complain over 4 carries. I mean, I think it was fine what they did, and the Ravens still ended up running the ball more than they threw it. So they didn't get away from who they were, and at least that was a positive if you want to take a positive out of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will say the one play call, like the one specifically, you're right, the goal line, and you're just continuing to wear them down. Play action at the 3-yard line after Derrick got stuffed on the play before. I'm giving it to the big fella because they actually did it at different circumstances later in the game where it was they ran on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd and got stopped, and then they'd be in that tush-push situation and they picked up a 1st down and kept the drive going. It kind of felt like if you kept wearing them down, that could have been the situation. Play action, Lamar takes a sack, and then you settle for a field goal. The 2 areas of the game, that's situational ball, specifically red zone efficiency, which in this case, the Ravens did stop Buffalo at the end to give them a chance, but that was one of them. And then it was turnovers and points off of turnovers. Baltimore had 3 turnovers. Buffalo cashed in 10 of their points. And that the fumble from Lamar, that Von Miller return, that led to a touchdown. The Mark Andrews fumble led to a field goal. And those are the moments, Brad, it just seems like it just came back to bite Baltimore. And in the postseason, you can't have that. And the argument about Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, look, we could say Lamar was a very big reason why the Ravens made the comeback, and he's been the reason why the Ravens have gone all season. But yesterday, the quarterback that made no mistake and did what he had to do was Josh. Josh, when the turnovers happened, he didn't make a play that cost Buffalo in any shape or form. And again, that's not me saying anything with Lamar, but for those that are going to say Josh didn't do anything this game, Josh did something that he's evolved into, and that is not being the turnover-prone player that he had been in the past. He is very smart with what he did, and then they cashed in. And I think that's the part that's tough to deal with the Ravens, because you did feel like, Brad, they did outplay them as far as yardage, as far as yards per play. Isn't there that one stat out there that the Ravens completed 70% of the passes, didn't punt, 10 yards per pass, all these things, and still lost?
Yep. Because
the one element of the game that they had to be solid at, they weren't. So
yeah, that's the thing. It's just the mistakes. It's when Lamar threw that interception, you go back and look at it, and then you kind of realize that maybe Rashad Bateman was misplaced. Not the first time we've seen that from Rashad, but like the initial, knee-jerk reaction was like, here we go again, where Lamar has only thrown 4 interceptions all season long. And then here he is, first quarter, just tossing a pick right out the gate in a divisional round game. So it was one of those things where it's just like, why do these things keep happening to us in the most crucial moments of the season? And so it was just tough.
Yeah. And you know what? We can get into it a lot more with Mark Andrews. And I know people are frustrated. I can't tell you how bad I feel for Mark, because talk about a guy that's been Mr. Dependable usually all over the time. And I know, Kevin, you were looking up some things around the postseason around with Mark, but a guy that after he got going, after the first 6 weeks of the season, he was Mr. Reliable in the red zone. He was the guy you went to again that you saw earlier in his career. And unfortunately, probably in his not even professional career, probably in his whole playing career, going back to his younger age of when he started the game, this is probably a moments that are going to stick with him. First fumble in 5 years, Kevin, does that sound right? At Mark Andrews?
Since 2019, yep.
First one in that scenario, and then obviously, the 2-point conversion. It doesn't come down to always, obviously you can say, yes, you make that conversion, you win the game. But I feel bad because there was other moments in the game. Those were crucial. I'm not going to say they weren't. But man, I think we do have to still remember and reflect in the moments. I know people don't like what John Harbaugh said. They aren't in positions without Mark Andrews in the past. And it's just, you got to roll with your guys, and he's human at the end of the day. So for anyone that's going out there, death threats, doing all that, come on, man. It was bad. I get it. It was bad. But in this moment, you can't turn on your guys. And I think Q would be a great guy to talk to, Kev, about situations in this. So we could talk all about this. We'll get into the whole Mark Andrews more down the road here, because we want to dissect that play, and why not bring on an NFL wide receiver to talk about it a little bit more. But in the moment, I think we do have somebody that's with us, right? That's part of the Ryan Ripken show. Hi, Zach.
How's it going, guys? How is it going?
Yeah, you know what? We're doing okay. Could be better.
I was going to say, I don't know if okay is the word. We are going. That's just what I keep saying today. Every time someone's like, how's it going? We're going. The day is happening. Life is still going forward. But I got to say, it is becoming a probably my least favorite tradition of the season is our post playoff Ravens choke streams. Not a fan of these. Last year, the Kansas City. Last year though was rough. Like last year, I remember that was. I showed up in the studio the next day, and I think I said like 5 words the entire show. Like I was last year. This year, I'm a little bit more like, damn, that happened. Last year, I was devastated. But I remember
Well,
not.
I think we buffered it last night. We were both pretty torn up last night initially.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't, like I said, we didn't even recap anything in Kevin and Zach React. We just kept sitting there going, so that happened. Like, what's next? So glad you had fun in Buffalo, Ryan. That's a positive. You know, I guess there's the positive. There's the positive. Fun in Buffalo.
Hey, Buffalo, we're going to do a Ryan Ripken Show group meet up in Buffalo next year when they play, and anyone's welcome. That's what I love. Like, they truly were welcoming, and they didn't care about that. And I love this. I sat down, I talked with Nick and his dad, Pizza Pete, and we talked in general here where they go, hey, look, like, the fans make the experience, the good, bad, and ugly, right? Obviously, the team can reflect how you feel, but your fan base, your passion for the sport, that's why it hurts for Ravens fans today, because you care so much about the damn team and you're passionate. You're out there. The Ravens flock was representing. Yeah, it's in Buffalo, but so many people wanted to go up there and be a part of something special. The bank is always rocking here in Baltimore. The team is competitive, right? Yeah, the Ravens have a fortunate situation, but it's the people that make it. And that's why, with Zach, when you speak of it, it hurts because these teams have become a part of the community. The Bills, they rally around Buffalo, and I would say the Ravens, the same thing with the city of Baltimore. So we can go into it all more and more, but why don't we take a quick round in our Adams Jeep of Maryland to the post-game comments, because that's where I want to really dissect this next part. So riding on our Adams Jeep of Maryland, Zach, over or under 7 seconds?
Over. Actually, under. Nothing's happening these days. Let's just do something. Let's switch
5,
it up.
3. Oh, baby. Adam. Beautiful. Appreciate them. Hey, look, they're our OG sponsor up there in Aberdeen, 5 minutes from the Ironbird Stadium. And if you're in the market for a new car, check out adamsjeepofmaryland.com. adamsjeepofmaryland.com. You go on there, and you can look at the options that are available, used or new. And if you go there and you tell Chuck or Matt that you love the Ryan Ripken Show, or that, you know, you're not a fan of Rocco sucks, Chuck will give you $1,000 in gas money with a purchase of a new vehicle there. So tell them we say hello. We appreciate our friends at Adams Jeep of Maryland. Once again, that's adamsjeepofmaryland.com. Guys, I think this is where I want to dissect a little bit more. 2 things before we have Q come on here. And the first one being about this, there's 3 post-game interviews that we're going to listen to here. Let's start with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson talked about the turnovers, right? That was a big part of the game, the turnovers. And specifically, he's pissed at himself, which, again, what I love with Lamar, he's accountable. But let's play the first part of that clip, Brad, and then I'll pause it when Lamar's done, and then we'll keep going.
I had 2 costly turnovers, me not holding the safety, me just knowing the coverage, me knowing it was man, through a BS interception. It was 7-7 at the time. I believe they scored after that. Battle back, fumble, snap, trying to make something happen. You know, couldn't throw it. It was like a RPO play, so I couldn't really throw the ball to likely, you know, the offensive line was down the field. So I was trying to make something happen. Tried to squeeze the ball, it slipped out my hand. Von Miller picked it up, got some yards. I think that led to points for them. So it's a team effort out there. You know, he's been busting his behind, he making plays happen out there on that field for us. Came up short. And like I've been saying all season, every time we in situations like this, turnovers play a factor. Penalties play a factor. Tonight, with the turnovers, we can't have that shit, you know? And that's why we lost the game, because as you can see, we moving the ball wonderfully. It's hold on to the fucking ball. I'm sorry for my language, but this shit annoying. I'm tired of this shit, man.
So you can hear the frustration from Lamar. And he's right. Like, he's right. And I know he's tired of it. I know a lot of fans are tired of it, saying we're here these moments, and the phrase that say, hey, The Ravens beat the Ravens. Well, the turnovers specifically on one's the miscommunication. Q will break down the Lamar fumble, and he even said it, the ball security. And then for Mark, hell of a play by the Bills. I think it was Bernard. But those are two plays where you're looking like, hey, you hold on to the ball there. This circumstance doesn't happen. And those two fumbles led to 10 points. And that in a game where you lose by 2, that really sticks out. But I think with that being said, this is a good way to circle this in. Brad, can we play the Shannon Sharp clip talking about, because this is the other question that goes into it. Do you believe that Lamar Jackson can win the Super Bowl? Because now that's a conversation we have to have. Let's play that clip and we'll tie it all together on the other side.
And what's your confidence level now that Lamar Jackson will win a Super Bowl?
Oh, good question.
I still believe he can get it done. My thing is, if he gets over that hump, he could go on a streak. He just needs to get that monkey off his back. And right now, the pressures, and I think he adds a lot more pressure to it, because they're like, man, the MVP, I'm the MVP.
Yeah.
And he goes into the game and he tries to be perfect.
Dad.
I cannot be mad at Lamar Jackson for that fumble.
Okay.
Because I saw him make that same play against the Cincinnati
Correct.
Bengals.
Correct.
They snapped the ball over. He reached down, he's looking, he picks the ball up with one hand, he rolls around, and he finds likely for a touchdown. So you can't be mad at him because that's the way he plays. Those are the kind of plays, Stephen A. and Cam, that's going to get him a third MVP. The play that he fumbled last night, we've seen that play so many times in the regular season. But come playoff time, if you turn the ball over, you're going to get that Louis Vuitton hefty duffel bag, and you're going home.
Yeah. Right. Well, I would know something about those hefty bags you gave me once. So thank you very much. The point that I'm trying to make is this, though. Having said that, guys, it's like I'm worried in regards to your question, Molly, as to whether or not it's going to happen, because I don't expect Patrick Mahomes to fade. I don't expect Josh Allen to fade. I think in the future we're going to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in that offense in the way too. I'm looking at stuff like that, and then I'm looking at the pressure that's now mounting. Because it's one thing if you play your first playoff game and you stink up the joint against the Chargers, right, like when his first playoff before Lamar Jackson first. But it's another thing entirely when you've played and had an MVP season, you show up in the postseason, and you answer the call late. And somehow, some way, not little mistakes, but mistakes that occurred early in the game end up costing you. It's almost getting to the point where he can't afford to do anything wrong because that black cat running around seems to punish the Baltimore Ravens for any mistake that they make. Yeah. And against the teams in the AFC, you can't afford to make those mistakes if you're going to win.
But that's where you.
So I think that's a good way to end it right there. And actually, Stephen A's last point, I agree with that. It seems like when the Ravens make a mistake in the postseason, they get punished every single time. Now, back-to-back years, we've seen plays. The Zay Flowers fumble at the goal line was that moment of you can't believe it. The Mark Andrews situation there, or the drop pass by Mark, the fumble by Mark, the Lamar's, it was a ghost fumble. He didn't get it knocked out of his hand. It fell out of his hand. And you're sitting there going, man, how does this happen? But to answer the question, guys, I'll start it off, and I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe throw up a hand here. Zach, is no doubt in my mind Lamar can win. I thought you saw the progressions of it. I mean, hell, that final drive that he had, stones, man. That ice in his veins out there, 90 yards. You have Bateman get hurt on the drive, and you go down there and you make it happen and you put your team in a position. It's not that he can't do any of it. I think, though, it's because of the fact his greatness during the majority of the season, the regular season, everything he's accomplished, the target on his back just seems to get larger and larger, which I don't think is fair, but that's just the narrative we're going to hear until he finally gets past this. And I can't wait until he finally does. But, Zach, what do you think?
Do I think he can win it? Yeah. I think he has the talent to. I think he's getting better in the playoffs. Yesterday, like you talked about, Ryan, that final drive before the 2-point conversion was flawless. I mean, he shows the signs, the glimpses are there that he's putting it together in the playoffs. But I'm not going to say, yeah, he's going to win one, because it's hard in the National Football League. And we're seeing this once again. because this is back-to-back years where the Baltimore Ravens, I truly believe, had a top 2-3 team in the National Football League, and they weren't able to get it done. Do I think Lamar can win it? Yes. I can't put out there that I'm like, he's 100% going to. You know, it's hard. You sit there with the AFC, you got Mahomes, they talked about, you got Burrow, they talked about, you got Allen. Hell, now in the NFC, you got Jaden Daniels. You know, it's not getting easier. You know, it's never going to get easier. And it felt like, man, Bengals had a down year. Didn't have to worry about them in the playoffs. Like, obviously, you had to go through Josh Allen and then Patrick Mahomes. But it felt like this year was a year that there was an opportunity. It felt like last year the door was open and they weren't able to go through it. And I won't, you know, like Lamar said, he put it perfectly. Hang on to the fucking ball. Simple as that. If the Ravens hang on to the effing ball in their past, 3 playoff losses, they're not playoff losses. It's just the turnovers are ridiculous. Nobody beats the Baltimore Ravens like the Baltimore Ravens. It's frustrating as all get out. I have total faith that Lamar can do it. But the whole team has to just get their act together when it comes to these just brutal fumbles and turnovers.
And I don't know who wants to go next then, but I want to make this point. The biggest thing is we're talking about the AFC stacked. And look, you can hate the Chiefs all you want or say whatever. In the biggest moments, they don't fold. You could say, the refs, Patrick Mahomes in the biggest moments comes through. Travis Kelce can be looked down upon. What did he do in the divisional game? He had another 100-yard receiving game. Their stars show up, and they don't make that crucial mistake, whatever it may be. And unfortunately for Baltimore over these years, when they've lost, it's been the crucial mistake, and the team that they have played hasn't done that. And that has been the glaring difference. Josh Allen yesterday, no mistake, did his thing, and the Buffalo Bills win. Why? They're not the one that made the crucial mistakes that put themselves behind. And then you're playing catch up and you have to be perfect. Baltimore almost had a perfect second half. In some cases, still almost overcame all of it, but you don't deserve to win the game. You can't, it's not, woe is me. It's, you had your chances, right, Kev? Like, or Brad, I don't know who wants to go next.
Well, real fast, like you just said, Josh Allen, like, if you look at the EPA and stuff, all the metrics, Lamar outperformed Josh Allen last night. But what was the difference and the key to the game? Josh Allen didn't turn the ball over. He hung on to the football. He did what they needed to do. He didn't give Baltimore opportunities. So while it wasn't a star stat padded game from Josh Allen where you looked at and you go, man, he took over the game, he didn't give the game away. Like, at no point did it feel like, Josh Allen has lost control of this game. It felt like even the worst thing that they could do was turn the ball over, and that was the one thing the Bills didn't do. And that's how they beat us. Josh Allen refused to turn the ball over. Buffalo refused to, and Baltimore gave it to him.
Mm-hmm. You know, the last – go ahead, Brad. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I've seen a lot of comments also talking just about how, look, Lamar should have held on to the ball, right? But what some of the words that I was hanging on as far as Shannon Sharp's comments were, this is Lamar being Lamar. Like, you're going to have a turnover or two when you have a player that is trying to make an unbelievable play. There's a reason why he's the MVP, because he makes plays like that. And referring to the Bengals game earlier in the season where it should have been a dead ball, it should have been a negative play, and then he all of a sudden turns it into a touchdown to Isaiah Likely. I'm okay. Like, I would have been okay with Lamar fumbling that ball. It was just because here's my thing too. Like, he answered all the questions that you had about him. It wasn't that he folded because it was a playoff game, like a lot of the narrative had been going on for his entire career. The way that he responded after that turnover was actually unbelievable. So anybody who wants to put it all on Lamar, and we're going to, because that's what the media does, because it was a loss, and for some reason wins and losses only count against quarterbacks. That part makes no sense to me. But when we're talking about Lamar's level of play last night, it wasn't that Lamar actually played bad at all. The interception, once again, was not his fault. We saw Rashad Bateman kind of have a bit of a miscue there, and we're going to talk about that with Q later. The fumble was purely on him. Mark Andrews fumbles the ball too. Like it, to me, Lamar Jackson did his job and made one mistake, in my opinion, pretty much all night.
Yep, and I think that was the different narrative of it. Like I said, that last drive that Lamar, they moved the ball with ease. They moved the ball with ease. It's just the reality of it. Do you win the game? And I think I saw a comment here from Mario. People are realizing that playoff stats don't matter as long as you win. That's the name of the game. Doesn't matter how pretty, how ugly. Patrick Mahomes, we talked about this. Of going, his numbers during the regular season weren't the Patrick Mahomes-esque of being the top guy. And we talked about in the past between legacy and greatness of players. When you get to a certain point, Kevin, it's about just winning. I think the Chiefs down the stretch, they haven't been turning the ball over. The Houston Texans outgained the Chiefs, didn't turn the ball over, and yet they lost by 2 scores against Kansas City. Why? Kansas City. Well, I still
because of the efficient. I don't even get me started on that goddamn game. Don't even get me started. The Texans should have won that game.
I'm not going to go that far.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that all day long then. That's a whole other show.
I'm just saying the Chiefs, you can say the refs all you want, but also the Chiefs aren't making the play that's the back-breaking killer. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sorry. Look, when you feel like you're already up against the wall and the officiating is also screwing you on multiple occasions, like the morale, the motivation, like all of that, the Texans, it should have been a way closer game. That officiating killed that game.
Did the refs block Fairbarn's kick? Did he miss the extra point?
No. But my thing is that it should have been way closer. There was 30 to 45 yards of penalties that should not have gone against that are drive killers for the Texans. Is all I'm saying.
Did the refs sack Stroud 8 times?
No, Rip. Nope. But did Patrick Mahomes? There was flopping going on. Like I'm sorry. Like this, it was ridiculous. It was absolutely ridiculous. You can go ahead and ask me all the hypothetical questions you want, but I'm telling you, the refs that game, the officiating in that game was absolutely atrocious. I can take the bad calls in last night's game with Tre'Davious White. I'll take that because that's just human error. But that game yesterday during the Chiefs game was absolute bullshit. And I don't know what needs to happen, but that was ridiculous in a divisional game. Ridiculous.
I think that the whole sliding rule needs to be reevaluated and changed moving forward because that's the biggest one that comes into question. And we know what we're talking about with that. And Brad, you're right. We could talk about this for hours here. But Kevin, while we were getting off the rails here a little bit, which we love at times, there was news here.
Yeah. Some breaking news is everyone maybe was hinting or thinking the Bears are finalizing a deal to hire Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. So the prank ends up becoming real.
Yeah,
is what happens. So Caleb gets his guy, the Bears get their guy, and I think it's a good hire for him. I like it for the Bears.
Listen, throw the excuses out. Get Caleb an offensive line. You can't say, oh, Eberflus, they got it, excuses are gone for Caleb. He has quote unquote the next great head coach, this offensive mastermind. This is gonna be fun. I think this is gonna be really fun. I'm excited to see Ben Johnson work with Caleb and playing the Bears 2 times a year. Also, they already are talking about he's putting together his staff already, and it looks like the leading candidate for defensive coordinator is Dennis Allen, who was just fired this season as the Saints head coach. So it's going to be I'm intrigued by this Bears team. I was hoping they'd get Ben Johnson. I'm just glad he didn't go to the Raiders. I thought that was going to be a waste of a talented coach.
And we also got some more breaking news. The Colts are expected to hire former Bengals defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo as their defensive coordinator. So a bit of a DC
good one for the Colts. Colts defense was atrocious. They need Lou can get them together.
Yeah.
I know we have
For sure.
next, but shouldn't another side note? I would like to see interviews take place when the postseason ends.
Agree.
Thank you.
Agree.
I mean, I'm not going to say going to say it was a reason for anything, but I just would like to. It's the same thing with baseball. Most cases, things don't happen until season's done. I would have loved to see the season end, and then you can interview with your candidates. If you want that guy so badly, you can wait. But I do understand the NFL and the free agency period is. If you wait to the Super Bowl, it's a month, but quite frankly, only 2 teams are getting there, so maybe unless I don't know. But
yeah, and that is also the Bears' one destination Todd Monken could have gone to. So that checks one name or one team off that list. I guess Jacksonville is the other one. That maybe
I hope he
Monken
doesn't
could
go to Jacksonville. Unfortunately, if he goes to Jacksonville, it's going to be a classic case of he gets 2 years, has no talent down there because it's so poorly built. Then they're going to just blame him and move on.
Actually, it's reported that the Jaguars were interested, but they said that the setup wasn't in line with what he was looking for, and everyone's like, "So, AKA, they suck." Is what that was.
Paraphrase
what he's looking for. Okay.
Well, we found out, but you know what? We appreciate you guys. New to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Monday and Thursday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have our Hot Stove Happy Hours talking MLB news on Wednesday. We will talk about some MLB news after our football conversations. But guys, fellas, we have our guy joining us to help us break down some of the big moments from last night, the unfortunate moments, and then also who is our fitness and health guru, former Super Bowl champion and Baltimore Raven, Mr. Qadry Ismail. Q!
Fellas, yes, we are here. It is a somber mood for me today, but I still realize the sun comes up and you got to go ahead and keep trudging on because nobody's going to be crying for you.
Yeah. Well, let's start on at least the positive. If you wanted to take out your frustrations on the loss to help yourself with health, what's the one fitness little tip we could do today if you were kind of laying low at the house?
Yeah, so the biggest thing for you to do is making sure you had a restful full night of sleep. So I didn't get to bed after TV and all the things till 1 a.m, and I had to make sure that I had what is called GlyNac, glycine and N-acetylcysteine. That combination together gives you a chance to have your body just be a little bit more at rest and not feel so like, oh my gosh, full of lethargy. If you are chilling and you're saying you're going to take a day, you better go ahead and make sure you're hydrating up as well. Now, for me personally, I'm not a libations guy. Don't really care to judge anybody. Your liver is your own. But for me, I'm making sure that I'm properly hydrated. So if it's a rest day, you're chilling. I would strongly suggest you go outside, especially since we had such bad weather and it's sunny out. Sun is a good thing. Why? Because it helps promote that cholesterol to turn into vitamin D, which is a vital portion to your body's physical and mental health as well. So this is more of a recovery type of a day. Get out and just move around at least 15, 20 minutes. That's going to be my Q-tip of the day.
I got to be honest here, Q. I need a detox. I need to treat my body well after going up to Buffalo. I love the experience. I don't think I followed the right protocol for the last 48 hours. But you know what? Buffalo was great. I talked about it. And sleep's the most important thing. I'm trying to work on that for 2025. But Q, I think there's a couple things. Let's talk about this game. Tough. This is a tough one to swallow. But this conversation, there's 2 plays. And I think you would know more about all of this. And Brad, we were talking about with the Rashad Bateman play specifically. We wanted to pull that up early, just about with communication. We'll get to the Mark Andrews one. Those are the 2 plays I want you to kind of dissect. But that first one with Rashad Bateman, if we pull this up, can you kind of just explain the thought process of kind of what went wrong in the communication process?
Yeah, absolutely. I think
I got it here.
yep, if you look at it as I set the table and you get the play up, it's a situation where Rashad right now, he's matched up. It looks like he has a guy bumping him at the line. Good strong release off the line of scrimmage. He's inside edge of the numbers. And so because he's at the inside edge of the numbers, or top of the numbers, if you will, go ahead and roll it. He's now gaining leverage on the defender. The defender is thinking he's going to do an end cut. And so there's leverage for him to just break out. If he breaks out at a good enough angle, that should be an easy pitch and catch for him. So it's great release off the line of scrimmage, pin the DB on the inside. His indicator is that foot that is about to stick into the ground. Lamar has that chance just to float it between the 40 and the sideline. And he chose to take a real high angle of a throw, which, again, if you look at it man-to-man wise, rather zone, he has that single high safety. He could have looked off the safety and then just feathered it right on out to Bateman. So I think that is the first mistake. You can even hear the frustration of Lamar post-game where he was talking about this play where he felt, and I'm paraphrasing, that it was just kind of more of a lazy-ish type of a throw / read for him. He should have been on the same page, a better page with his receiver. And therefore, it gets intercepted.
So Q, so you're just to wrap it in, because Bate, you said, was able to set up the defender there. So if he floats this, we're looking at it where it's frozen. Bates at the 40 and he's cutting out. You're saying if Lamar was able to float that between, let's say, the 45, but towards the sideline, that's the optimal place, right? And instead, Lamar lets it go. This safety then floats over top. So you're putting that more on Lamar viewed it a different way than what was kind of opening, or he didn't look off the safety enough. So he had to get it over there. In that case, he didn't. Ball's floated there, and it becomes an easy interception.
Yeah, and when you see there was some pressure coming into Lamar's face, Milano, I think, was the guy. And I think it was just a matter of, Bate felt like he set up the guy. I'm sure in practice, he felt like, yeah, I got him, and yes, Lamar's probably like, yup, you got him. Let me just go ahead and throw it out to you. Instead, it was more like a high angle throw. That high angle throw, that's usually when you're just trying to run away from the guy. Maybe it's a zone type of a read where you're keeping it high away from everybody. But you saw how the receiver, I don't know who that receiver was, that was paired up with Bate, but he occupied his defender. And because it's man-to-man, you got the single high safety. The single high safety is the responsibility of the quarterback. And so the quarterback needs to, have his eyes take him to someone else and then, get rid of the ball and just nice, beautiful between that 40, 45, just like dump it right down in that hole. Mother of pearl. Like that's a no kind of defense throw. That would have been a real pivotal momentum gainer for what the Ravens needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the plays where that interception didn't cost the Ravens on the scoreboard, unlike the other turnovers did. But the Ravens were moving the ball with ease. Overall in the game, they were moving the ball up and down the field. And it does slow it down. It takes away an opportunity. And the Ravens had their chances, Q. That was one of many, many chances. And unfortunately, crucial mistakes. The 3 turnovers are the glaring part of this. The one that right now, at least of mistakes then, that wasn't a turnover that people are really heightening on is on the Mark Andrews final play for the Ravens to tie the game. And there's 2 parts to this. So I want to go with number 1. Chris Sims was on with Kay Adams on the Up and Adams show and talked about the throw itself from Lamar. So I want to play that clip for you, Q. Want to hear your thoughts, and then we're going to break down the actual concept of the play. So, Brad, let's play that clip. Oh, wrong one. So let's go with the Chris Sims first. Sorry. Chris Sims, right? Got it.
To that highlight sequence because
I think they're listening.
When he played right here, this is perfect.
Okay.
Throw it. It's too late. Lamar Jackson's making $55 million a year. That ball needs to be on time, and it was not accurate. Mark Andrews needs to catch it. Don't get me wrong. But Lamar Jackson's making $55 million a year. He double clutched it and threw it like a dart. And now there's Mark Andrews where it's cold. He's worried about getting in the end zone, right? And he's
talk me through this one more time. I've not. Yeah. In my head, I'm like, why are we giving it to Henry? But you're saying, or we're blaming Mark. What are you saying? It's too late.
Well, this play's open. I understand the Henry concept, but this was the perfect play call, so we can't get mad at Todd Monken. And what I'm saying is that Mark Andrews in the meeting today in Baltimore is going to get a negative grade for the drop, but also in Lamar Jackson's meeting with his quarterback coach and the offensive coordinator, he's going to get a negative grade for this throw. He is. It was late. He didn't throw it with the same authority he usually throws it, and then he threw it behind him. He made it as hard as it possibly could be for a wide open touchdown. And again, I'm not giving Mark Andrews no free pass here. He should have caught that, but I'm also telling you Lamar certainly could have thrown that better and made that a whole lot easier on Mark Andrews in that big situation.
So, Q, just initial thoughts there, because we'll get to the whole play. Your initial thought on that, is that Chris right with that, or you disagree?
I mean, I agree, and in some parts, and in other parts, I disagree. I think, if you looked at the whole game, you'll see where, after Derrick Henry dropped the first play, where he was wide open, and Lamar was trying to feather it out there. When it's a cold game and the ball is a little bit tough, I know as a receiver, you're hoping the quarterback doesn't whiz it in at you. You want a catchable ball. And so Lamar threw a very catchable ball to Derrick Henry. That, to me, looked like a very similar ball to Mark Andrews. Now, if it was anybody else, maybe you could say, okay, Lamar, you know what? That's a new guy you don't have chemistry with. But I think for Lamar, he was like, man, we got to get this 2-point conversion. I don't want to mess it up. I'm not going to mess it up. So that negative thought, let me get that out of my mind. I'm not going to mess it up. I am going to execute it. I will throw a good ball that is catchable for my guy. Reading the tea leaves, you can see how it starts to unfold and become clear. He had so much room before the pylon. So, yeah, he had the ability to afford himself just that little bit of a double clutch or double pump. And then he got the ball out to – it's a normal throw. Lamar is kind of that – his throwing motion does look like a dark throw. So, I disagree with, Chris there. The only thing I think with Mark, if Mark is expecting it sooner, there has to be the collective breath of like, it's not here. Okay, it's coming. And then allow myself just to recenter myself. I mean, I've done that 1,000 times. Mark, his mindset is one of, I've seen him. He's practiced those type of plays over and over again where he's made the difficult and different level throw catches in warmups literally since going back to training camp and like every single day. So that's where I'm like, yeah, this is just football 101. You can see where Bateman is trying to, do a quasi pick, not necessarily pick, but, quasi pick. You got Isaiah doing a quasi pick that then goes into the back of the end zone. It's a variation of quick sprint right 17. A variation of that. It's a ubiquitous play. Everybody runs it. Everybody going way back to, my day. Heck, you can go back to Joe Montana and Dwight Clark to catch. Quick sprint right 17. And so for him, it's just like, hey, here's the ball. Okay, now let me recenter it. And I just think that it was like it's too easy. And that it's too easy, like that just, I'm in shock that he dropped it. Every time I see it, I'm like, nah, he's going to catch it. But the reality is I don't have the power of Q and go back and redo it because of the ability to do that. That's my Star Trek reference for today. It just went over all y'all heads because y'all said, wait a minute, Q is Q, but then Q, Star Trek Next Generation Q, but y'all didn't realize that that's okay. It just, wow, he came in and Picard, and then Picard, he did like this special guest spot and then forgave Picard and loved on him and said, look, man, I'm omniscient. I can do this. I'm going to help you out. But 7 of 9 wasn't having it either because she's a former Borg. You didn't know that. See how I have to calm myself down right now? I'm ready to catch another question if you have it.
Well, that was a lot, and really, whoosh, but that was phenomenal. And then Q, and Brad, can you pull back up the play real quickly of the actual play, if we can get that back on the screen here, and I'll run with it. So Q, in this case, I know in the circumstances of it all, but at what point in these big moments do you try to not get out of your head? And I'm sure you've had your moments of balls that you sit back and go, how the hell did I drop that? Right? Like, and I know you do. And this is the human element of it. Like, no one's perfect. It's just, it's magnified because of the stakes that were on the line. In your mind, when you've messed up in a moment and you've missed it, what's going through your head when it happens? Because usually there's something that happens there that is causing it other than your normal thought process. In this case, you know, Mark and Lamar have been in this situation hundreds of times, but something right there in the moment then was just a little bit different. What does that mental side look like?
So right now where the screen is frozen, stop it right there. In Lamar's mind, that ball, you can see the ball is gone. All the Bills defenders, like the way in which Bateman ran his route, the way in which the Bills are like, oh my God, that's Lamar Jackson getting on the edge. We got to respect him. The way in which Isaiah Likely, you know, he kind of, you know, ran some guys into one another. All of that. Mark is coming out into the flat. I'm telling you right now, mentally, you are trying to slow everything down. And yet everything is speeding up in your mind. It's on the road. It's loud. That's why the home crowd advantage, all those things. And it's like the collective breath, the collective energy of, I got to relax my eyes. That's a term that I dubbed when I used to do a ton, and I still do it with some of my clients today, but a ton of vision therapy because of my astigmatism and some of the things that I had going on with my eyes. And hell, I don't even know how I made it to the pros, but that's another story for another day. You got to relax your eyes. You got to tell yourself the peripheral vision is there. Everything is there. I can slow it down. And you're just like routine. If he did it in practice a certain way and he felt a certain way about it, routine. I'm going to just keep it with the same routine, same catch. This is me. All those things, seemingly, as the ball was in the air, Mark couldn't, again, collect his collective breath and allow himself just to say, okay, here's what I'm going to do to make this catch. And instead, I mean, I you know, I don't want to say this negatively, although we have our trolls online and the stupidity of people who never played and the NARPs out there, but that's a form of a choke, meaning that I couldn't do what I normally routinely do. Not, oh, you're a choke artist and all the other bullshit that everybody else wants to label it. But I'm just saying that's a form of it when you can't execute. And because Mark is Mark, he's done that so many times. And it just makes you sick to your stomach that you're like, mother of pearl. All I had to do is just do what I've done thousands of times over. And that's the tough part that he's going to have to live with for this entire offseason.
Yeah. And I appreciate you saying that, Q, because you're right. This is also the narrative when it comes to us talking about when people say about Lamar Jackson or any great, like look at Peyton Manning all those years where they go chokes in the big moments. It's okay. That's a little bit aggressive. It's just because of what you're used to seeing from a player. You expect them to do that over and over again in all the circumstances. And in that case, Mark probably catches that 99 times out of 100. Like, that's when it probably happens. But in this moment, he didn't. And that's the one that's the hardest thing to deal with. And there's the part of the game in the element Q. That's why I appreciate your perspective, not just with football. We look at all the sports where people look at some of the game's greats and they want to criticize in the big moment if they don't come through. You know, and that's just the way that we're in. It's not because they can't, but because of what people have expected them to do. And for right now, that's a moment for Mark that's going to hurt. And I honestly, Q, how do you get over that? You know, what's something that you would, for advice that you would give to someone that's got to have to deal with the amount of criticism that he has to deal with now until they kind of move past this and hopefully next year try to right the wrongs of it?
Yeah, so this is where, you know, social media probably is like, yeah, you know, Q, he's so old that he's one of them dudes that be like, you know, making a fist of the cloud, that meme right there with all the Simpsons character. But, you know, social media is just ruthless. And like I saw maybe 2 or 3 on YouTube alone, just, you know, just boom, talking about the play and all the things. The people, excuse my language, but the dumbasses out there who never really was in that moment, they don't understand that moment and they never been in those situations. So in their minds, like they're thinking, oh, this is easy. And that is not easy. And obviously you're, you know, you're not necessarily, you know, feeling bad for Mark. I mean, he's getting paid to make those plays. And Lamar is getting paid to make those plays. That's the excellence of football and sport. But that being said, yeah, you're gonna have to eat it. You're gonna have to own it. You're gonna have to process it. Once the processing is done, like you're gonna have the thickest of skin and just say, you know what? I don't care. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna make sure that I'm focused in on me.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it is a game, and you get paid to play it. People expect things from you. You got to live with that side of it. But the human side, the mentality, and knowing from what I've heard with Mark, like it's going to tear him up more than people are going to fully understand, right? But that's something now he's going to have to work past. And how do you bounce back? How do you move forward? That's going to be the next tale for him with his career and for the Baltimore Ravens. And it wasn't the only plays that Baltimore could have done better, but that's the one that everyone wants to magnify. Baltimore doesn't turn the ball over a couple more times. In a 2-point loss, Baltimore's heading to Kansas City with a chance to go to the Super Bowl for the first time since 2012. So that's all I got for questions. Kev or Zach or Brad, you got a question for Q before we let him do whatever he's doing on his guess's free day, off day? I don't know. Besides, we're doing missiletraining.com all the time, Q. I mean, this is kind of your downtime. But Kev, you got a question? Is that you about to speak?
Yeah. You know, I always got questions for Q. You don't have to ask me. You know, I always got a question for Q. My thing with the Ravens in this game in particular is you look at the way that both quarterbacks played, and we talked about it a bit before you came on. Obviously, this wasn't like the Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson superhero stat line game. Both these quarterbacks had about 120-ish passing yards. I mean, well, Lamar had 254, obviously, but Josh 127, Lamar 254. Are people now realizing, are we finally getting over that hump that in the playoffs, it doesn't matter how you win, how ugly it looks, how pretty it looks. It just matters if you win, because there's been so much stats discourse this entire season with Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen and how toxic that conversation became. But at the end of the day, what it did come down to was Josh Allen, he didn't make the mistakes, and Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense, they did. I think to me, though, the biggest thing was the Ravens didn't necessarily abandon their identity completely. I'm glad they didn't go down 21-10 and just start throwing the ball over and over and over again. Are you happy with the game plan that the Ravens offense showed, particularly in that second half, where I thought it was a much better overall effort?
Yeah, I thought that the mistakes kind of derailed their momentum. And playoff football is about momentum. You capture the momentum, you keep the momentum. You don't make mistakes. You force the other team into making mistakes. Josh Allen and them, once Lamar made the first, volley of mistakes, then it was like, as long as we don't do anything stupid, we're going to win. And sure enough, you could see it even from Sean McDermott's standpoint. They're down on the goal line. You can hear Tony Romo talking about somehow deadly, their version of their tush push is. And it's easy 2 plays. If you're at that 1 yard line, 1.5 yard line, and Sean McDermott's like, yeah, we're going to wait till the clock goes all the way down. We're going to kick that field goal. And so they put them up by 8. And so, the flow of the game, is it a situation where, John Harbaugh should have just gone for 1 in the early portion of the second half because there was a lot of time left, and knowing you're going to get another opportunity, your offense is playing well. That's something that, you're going to have to figure out and live with. But I thought Todd Monken, again, I do agree with Chris Sims. Like, the play was executed poorly, but the play call and the out leveraging of the Bills, it was spot on. Another thing you saw where it could have been abandoned early as far as their game plan, dominating as far as running the ball. But once the Bills defensive front kind of petered out, if you will, with their energy, I think we saw both Justice Hill as well as King Henry get some big chunk yards. And it was like, good golly, one safety away from, King Henry taking an 88 out the gate. And, you credit them for stopping it. But I think if there was ever a phrase for the Ravens of saying, hey, the Bills didn't beat us, we beat ourselves, I mean, that was the phrase. To not punt, clearly you had the turnover, so, whatever, that's considered kind of punting. But to not physically have your punt team go out there to, outgain them 416 yards of total offense is phenomenal. The bigger picture in my mind was the way in which they turned the football over. The time of possession was darn near identical. The penalties, I'm pissed. Like, again, Tre'Davious White, like, there's no way that's pass interference. I'm a receiver. I know what is and isn't pass interference. I would have been like, oh, yeah, great job, great job. And that jazz was, if anything, maybe offensive pass interference. Gene Steratore, I love how he even was real with it. Was like, nah, that ain't it. So it's like you're fighting against so many different things, and that's the frustration of the overall game plan. Defense had settled down. I wish they would have had a little bit more opportunity to get some key stops. They didn't, but overall, you let one go. You let one get away, and you should be going to the AFC Championship game, and that's something that's going to stick with you for the rest of the offseason yet again.
Oh, it's true. It is going to stick, and I think that's the part now going into next year, Q. It's going to be, hey, all right, excited for the regular season. Everyone's excited when the NFL season starts. Everyone's excited as the season goes on. But nothing's going to change for the narrative or perspective of the Baltimore Ravens until we get to these moments back in January and how the team is going to go out there and perform. And it is a shame in the sense that it's hard to get there. It's hard to get to the playoffs over and over and over again. But when your culture is set and your bar set up here and you continue to underachieve, then we're going to keep having these types of days where you're like, damn, well, when are we going to get over that hump again? And I guess 2025, we're going to have to figure out some more answers. Well, Q, I appreciate you. I know you're going to be doing stuff with Kevin on Locked On Ravens as well. You finished up with doing stuff with WJZ, but tell everyone where they can find you as regards to missile training and whatever the hell else you're doing, man, because you're always doing something.
Well, missiletraining.com is my main thing that I love and love to do. Missiletraining.com is where you can interact with me. Got some college kids that are looking to improve upon their skills, both in soccer, women's soccer, as well as men's football as well as men's basketball. I think at the same time, team training is strong options. Have some really cool teams that are coming in here, training softball, girls softball, boys baseball, and girls soccer as well. So missiletraining.com is where it's at, where you can find me. Also do a heck of a lot when it comes to just overall movement. Your movement brilliance matters. Doesn't matter the age, whether you're 6 all the way up to 85. Looking to help you improve. missiletraining.com, and that is that.
Movement. It's all about the movement, Q. You got to help me with my hip mobility, man. Getting a little tight.
Oh, yeah.
I got to be honest. We'll
all
get
that driving up to Buffalo kind of slows the movement of the hips down and get you all verklempt. We got to hook you up.
Well, you know what? Add it to the list there, because I'll tell you what, the hips, they were barking, and standing around all day too. I'm going to be doing some good functional movements here after the show. So I can't wait to add that to the next part of it. But Q, appreciate you, man, as always. Thank you for your time. And if you're available too, we can talk to you later on, maybe Thursday. We'll talk. We'll figure it out. Cool?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Appreciate you, Q.
Appreciate you.
Did we lose Q? Is he still frozen? Dude, I love how real Q is with everything. And also the Star Trek thing. Now I got to figure out exactly what the hell he's talking about. It's going to bother me now.
Yeah, I had no idea what he was.
He just continued, but like, just rolls, man. He rolls. and I love it. He can go straight into talking about this big moment and being able to facilitate and how things are. And then, oh, by the way, he throws that in there. So it was amazing. But if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Monday and Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the channel. Wednesday, we have our Hot Stove Happy Hour as well. And then we're figuring out our baseball schedule. We are Maryland-based, and we cover a lot of football, but when baseball comes back around, we're going to have a lot to talk about. I do want to talk a little bit more about with this game that I knew we need to talk about a little bit of baseball news. Zach, in the meantime, did you have a chance to find something interesting on the internet on your browsing history?
Nothing is making me smile today, Rip. I was not prepared for that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I have nothing has brought a smile. There's been nothing on my internet browser that has done anything positive.
You know, can I do something? Can I take the spot?
This might be scarier than anything.
That might.
It's not like crazy thing I saw on the internet. It's just something to maybe make Zach smile and
all right. What do you think?
Get his mood back. Did you hear what Derrick Henry said last night? The wholesome Lamar Jackson quote.
Oh, they entered as teammates and became brothers.
Yeah, he came in as a teammate and he found a brother. So that was something. But yeah, there's nothing that
we talked about this slightly last night, just real quick. Derrick Henry. Everyone this year, over the offseason was, he's 30 years old. What's it going to be like? Obviously, he looks great. You don't have to. You look at one workout video of him and he's in incredible shape. I'm intrigued on what's going to happen next year with Derrick Henry. What kind of level we see, because he is an aging running back. That's why it felt like this year was the year, because he was playing at such a high level. But man, if he's somehow able to come back and just produce 85-90% of what he did this year, you're still looking at the best backfield tandem in football.
I would love to see it. I would love to see the same production from Derrick, but we never know when that's going to be. But I'll tell you what, a guy that's going to be ready and determined and doing all the offseason work, the same that Kevin Ostreicher does as well. Very similar regime. Both cut from the same cloth, so it all makes sense. Yeah, thank you, Kevin, for your search history, browsing history.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I'll be honest, Brad and I were terrified of what could have been.
I wasn't good. I'm not gonna get too crazy with that. I'm not gonna put the show.
I'm a little disappointed, honestly.
I could dig deeper. Like I could try.
Kevin digging.
Kevin, Kevin, you're acting like you're not a guy that's throwing cat birthday parties. And
that is news to me. I don't know anything about cat birthday party. And actually, I'm gonna have the first cat birthday party because we now have 2 cats. The first cat birthday party is coming up in April, and then the Banksy's birthday falls on Cinco de Mayo. So Banksy's cat parties get a little crazy with the whole Cinco de Mayo. You know how Cinco de Mayo can get. So it gets a little crazy.
Don't we know how crazy Banksy can get without a leg and on Cinco de Mayo? There's nothing like it. Nothing like it. One other thing I wanted to touch on from the game, and this was another storyline out of Baltimore. It's not really about the game specifically, but I'll tell you what, Buffalo took this to heart. So I want to play the first clip from Josh Allen, okay? Where Josh is talking about no one's kind of giving him a chance. So let's play that. I'm going to play that clip first, Brad. I got it here. So let me play that clip for you guys first. We'll react, and I'll explain why. I know you guys know where I'm going to go.
All year, this team has heard we got no talent. We're too small. We can't stop the run. We're not good enough to compete. We've just put our head down and worked hard. I'm so proud of our defense. I'm so proud of our offense and special teams. What a complete win. Obviously, on the offensive side of the ball, we wish we scored a little more, so we didn't have to take it down to the fourth quarter like that. But that's a really good team. Credit to them as well.
So that right there leads into this comment where if you were around Baltimore media, you heard about the phrase that was said a long time ago about that Buffalo, quote unquote, was a city of losers. This was Sean McDermott after the game, and take a listen.
Yeah, no, it's a city of winners. It really is. It's a city of winners. These people in this town are winners. And I've been here just 8 years, but I consider this my hometown. This place is different, and the people here are different. They deserve more than whoever said that about them.
So the person they're referring to in that case was Jerry Coleman from Baltimore, and there's that conference. But Brad, it's not that we're trying to make this into like a huger deal, but the Bills clearly were aware of this. Brad, you have the clip. Can you play that? They pulled it up at the stadium.
Yeah. I don't know why Jerry Coleman decided to bring this back up. Like, he brought it up to John Harbaugh last week about how he said something a long time ago, and then it instantly gave them fuel or motivation for this game in particular. But it was big enough for Jerry Coleman to be on the Jumbotron up in Buffalo.
Well, and I will stay consistent with this because I've said it about a lot of other teams as well. Teams must just, the Ravens did everything right. They were not giving any bulletin board material. They were being respectful towards the Bills. And then obviously this happens. And you could tell when it was brought up, John Harbaugh was like, are you kidding? Did this really? And he didn't react, didn't even laugh, was just kind of stone-faced when he said it. And it's like you do everything right as a team. You're respectful towards your opponent, but then someone in the media says something or someone else says something, and that gives them motivation. And clearly the organization heard it. Like, clearly there are multiple examples of it. And so if you're the Ravens, you're like, we didn't even do anything. And here we are still with bulletin board material given to the other team.
John's face when he asked, what did you say? And then immediately it's like that meme or like that movie quote. It's like, and at this point, John realized he messed up. Because then the answer came back. Jerry explained what happened, and the quote was from years ago. But then it gets spun in any different way. And then there's reports out there, Zach, well, Harbaugh was laughing at this, and Harbaugh was saying this about the team. Harbaugh didn't say anything about the team. He was just saying how damn good the Bills were, and then realized, maybe I shouldn't have. Is John's a nice guy and just curious? He's like, man, maybe this one time I shouldn't have been curious. It was tough. It was just words are words. I understand that, but I'm telling you, as a guy, a former athlete, and being in the locker room, and you're doing all this, you find different ways to get motivated to piss you off. Mm-hmm. You do. The Bills clearly took that personally, and I'm not saying that won them the game. They had to go out and play, but it definitely helped really shine their focus on a specific thing, and it kind of united them in a situation of continuing to be underdogs. I mean, Zach, I see you kind of shaking your head down there.
It was so stupid. It was so stupid from the start. Like the entire, we talked about this off camera before. That entire thing, like you said, Rip, like Harbaugh had to afterwards be like, "Are you effing kidding me?" Like what you're saying, Kevin. The Ravens are incredible at not giving. It's like the Tomlin thing where people try to bait Tomlin all the time and he won't give any bulletin board. The Ravens are very similar. They give absolutely no bulletin board material. And then you're just sitting in your press conference and a reporter starts talking shit from years ago. This was the dumbest storyline. This should have never happened. This shouldn't have been a thing. Like, if I'm the Ravens, I'm just like, that was the dumbest situation of the season. There have been so many dumb situations, period, this season, but that one takes the cake of it turned into their rally call. Like, City of Losers became Buffalo's thing this week. Like, you gave them the momentum. It's on the Jumbotron. Every 5 words was every time something happened, it was, oh, looks like a city of winners, stuff like that. Like, what are we doing here? It's just the dumbest thing. If I'm Harbaugh, I'm so beyond pissed off about that. Like you said, Rip, you still have to go out and play the game. That's not the difference in this game. But just giving, like, it's just it's dumb. Just dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's not the main reason why the Bills.
Yeah, it just
might have done, but I don't want to say that it didn't have any type of effect. Teams, players, I'm telling you, like Tom Brady even says it all the time. In the past, when he would play, he would make something up or try to find a reason to get mad. And I'm not saying
Michael Jordan did too.
Yeah, and it's not that you have to motivate a player. That was the whole thing, and I took that personally. You know, like that was a meme, right? It's not that you need to motivate grown men to go out there and try to compete to win a Super Bowl. Like, you're there, you're at home in the snow. Like, you don't need any more motivation. This is your dream. This is your livelihood. Having said that, though, there are certain comments that can unite an area and bring a community even closer together. That was one of those moments. And it was a storyline that in today's day and age made headlines. Maybe 30 years ago, no one hears a thing. And honestly, it is a non-story.
30 years ago, the coach probably would have been like, true. I mean, with the way, because he probably would have been like, I would have used a different word. Like, he probably would have been like, hell yeah, they are. Like, that's just how it was back then.
Yeah, what did Shannon Sharp say? Whatever they said, we said it. Like, that's what it was.
Exactly. Like, it would have 30 years ago, they would have been like, no, I didn't call them losers. I said they're all losers. Like, something like that. Like, he would have made it worse.
Oh, man. It was, it's just a good way to kind of close out how that was. And look, at the end of the day, Bills found a way to win the game 27-25. Baltimore goes home, but still that look on John's face, without saying a word, you could just sit there and be, damn. Damn. That's not what we wanted. But, hey, what we did want to do is talk about this game. Hopefully, again, everyone's doing all right on their Monday. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Guys, I think before we dive into the baseball, we got to talk about that team that's right down the road. It's the Commanders. And who would have thought here that the Commanders are going to the championship game and not the Ravens? And maybe some people thought it'd be a Super Bowl matchup. But let's take a look at what those lines are looking like for the Commanders before we talk more about it. And let's take a trip up to our friends up at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown. Races in
West Virginia. That was our best one yet.
I thought, Kevin, you and I are right on.
Yeah, we tried to sync up. Yeah,
we did. I tried to wait because of the delay. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But our friends at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia, guys, they are having an event, not this upcoming Friday, but the following Friday on January 31st. And actually, guys, on our next show, they're giving away a bundle. So we're going to give away 2 bundles from ESPN Bet courtesy of Hollywood Casino Charlestown Races. So we will let you know how you can win those. One will be for Instagram. One will be for X. You're going to have to follow us here on the Ryan Ripken Show on those platforms. But then we're going to be giving some away at this event on January 31st. Hollywood Casino is officially opening the ESPN Bet Sportsbook up there in West Virginia, hour from Owings Mills, hour and 15 from Baltimore. And we are going to be live there around 12 p.m. That's the tentative start time. The event's from 11 to 2, and Santana Moss is going to hop on the Ryan Ripken Show to talk a little bit. Longtime Washington Commander, well, Redskin at the time. Now,
whoa. Gosh, PG.
Yeah.
PG.
I don't know why this show all of a sudden became PG, but
is that PG, Zach, when you said run the fucking ball? Or
and I'd say it again because they didn't fucking do it.
Say, there you go. Zach used to be more tame, but he's just on a different level. But anyway, back to our friends here. So that event is on January 31st up at Hollywood Casino Charlestown Races. So for more information, check out their socials and check in with us for the giveaway opportunities. Appreciate our friends at Hollywood Casino Charlestown Races in
West Virginia.
Okay. That wasn't as good. But anyway, the lines currently for the championship games, the Bills open as 2-point dogs against the Chiefs. But the Commanders, guys, the Cinderella story, the team that had the second overall pick in this past draft, are in the NFC Championship game after beating the Lions, the 1 seed, upsetting them in Detroit. They're 5.5-point underdogs going to Philadelphia, who they split with. Even though, granted, Jalen Hurts got knocked out of the game, but Jaden Daniels, with those turnovers as a team, led a comeback drive in the final seconds to beat the Eagles. But, guys, it's truly been remarkable what the Commanders have done. If you think about it, this was supposed to be like, hey, are we going to have a good quarterback? Okay, we think we have a good quarterback. Oh, we might mess around and make the playoffs. And now all of a sudden, they're 1 win away from going to the Super Bowl. A thought that was unfathomable when you thought about where they were just 2 or 3 years ago. Jaden Daniels is the truth. He's the real deal. And a question got brought up today when it was on First Take. Can the Commanders actually win the Super Bowl with Jaden Daniels this year? So let's play that clip for you guys.
Win the Super Bowl?
I ain't gonna lie to y'all. This brother could do it. He got a chance. He got a chance. Now, let me say this before I go any further. It wasn't Dan Campbell's fault. I'd blame Jared Goff more than I'd blame Dan Campbell. Now, obviously, I can't look at the defense, which was non-existent, and completely blame them. They went into the last game of the regular season with 13 dudes on the injured reserve list on that side of the ball. We know they had a whole bunch of dudes that were not. I don't even think Dan Campbell will know some of the personnel on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, damn it. I mean, you got people that they've been that injured. So we knew that their defense was going to be a problem. But Jared Goff, Jaden Daniels showed up and was like, you Sean McVay and the Rams, you're like, that's why we let him go. That's why we wanted Matthew Stafford instead of Jared Goff, because he just didn't show up the way he was supposed to. Jaden Daniels is a different animal, 299 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. They ran the ball effectively 42 times, like 182 yards.
Yes.
But this brother is just special. Whatever throws he needed to make, he made. Whatever runs he needed to make, he made. And not only that, you look at the team, and what do y'all tell me all the time? When you got an elite quarterback, you got a chance. The Washington Commanders are like, we got a chance. Right now, with Patrick Mahomes, with Jalen Hurts, with Josh Allen, and Jaden Daniels, we know who the best is. That's the 3-time Super Bowl champion. But none of them are playing better than Jaden Daniels. Right now, the way Jaden Daniels is playing for the Washington Commanders, this ain't going to be Philly defense, ain't Detroit's defense.
All right.
But they could do it.
I see.
So right there, I mean, look, I think it's simply put, Jaden Daniels is unbelievable. Jaden Daniels in less than 1 year has proven he is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And I know that teams are going to have to adjust. So we got to see how long can he keep doing it. But guys, a rookie quarterback that how he finished the season and then what he's done in the postseason so far, you can't argue with what he's done. 567 pass yards in the 2 games, and almost 70% completion percentage, over 8 yards per attempt on the throws, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, has only taken 1 sack. And then on top of it, he's run for 87 yards, and they've gone on the road and won 2 playoff games. So it's an uphill battle as always. But I got to tell you, man, the poise that Jaden has, and the bigger thing is that the Commanders sit there and go, we can win. And I know that the Eagles should win, but if I can't really doubt the guy. I think that Jaden Daniels is truly sensational. We're talking about not being rattled. Brad, does it look like a guy that's rattled in the postseason? It doesn't seem like any moment bothers him. And right now, that's what you need with your season on the line and an opportunity to go to a Super Bowl and really change the whole narrative once again, even more of what Washington football is going to look like for the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And look, the Bears could have had Jaden Daniels. So, it is unbelievable how this all has shaped out this season for the Commanders. And it starts from the top, right? I mean, the organization has literally turned itself around from ownership all the way down. And now it's being reflected in an NFC championship, their first year of this overhaul, whatever you want to call it. It has been unbelievable. Jaden Daniels is unbelievable. When you look at him out there, I don't want to make Lamar Jackson comparisons, but when he throws the ball, his throwing motion is almost similar to like a Lamar Jackson. The poise is very much there. And now he is in some rarefied air as far as rookies making an NFC championship game. If he makes a Super Bowl, Jaden Daniels is going to quickly immortalize himself in football history. So I'm excited for the Commanders. I'm excited for Commanders fans. This has been a long time coming. I didn't think they were going to make it this far this quick, but I'm excited for him. Look, the NFC needed a Jaden Daniels for one. The NFC does not have. I don't know if you could really go into the NFC and say there is an elite quarterback that is stacked like the AFC.
Not a single one.
So I think that the NFC just needed a quarterback like Jaden Daniels, and this is good for football.
It's about time. Get the NFC. Can we balance this thing out with Lamar, right, Josh, Patrick, Joe? Finally, the NFC gets one of these guys, and I feel like for Jaden, it's such a cool story for him in particular, and for the Commanders franchise in general. Who obviously, it's been rough to be a Commanders fan over the last, X amount of years, however far you want 30 to go back. Yeah, now you got one of the bright young stars in this league. A really bright future. And the thing with this Commanders team is this is the time to build around Jaden Daniels, where I think even if they don't win the Super Bowl this year or go on to the Super Bowl, I expect them to be pretty aggressive this offseason in terms of trying to round out that roster. Terry McLaurin could use a sidekick. They could beef up their defense a little bit more. So the run the Commanders are having right now is awesome. Cliff Kingsbury's done a heck of a job, and I give him and Dan Quinn and that coaching staff a lot of credit as well. It just feels like this all came together so quickly and so perfectly for the Commanders. And right, Ryan, Brad, the Eagles should win this game, but I think the Commanders have a shot. I think they have a shot to really take this thing. And I know a lot of people are already kind of dubbing the winner of whoever wins between Kansas City and Buffalo the Super Bowl champion. I don't really see it that way, because I think the Commanders are that sneaky team that you might overlook and say, oh, it's just a rookie. Do that at your own peril, because I think Jaden Daniels is a dude.
He is a dude. I mean, Zach, the thing right now is when you're in the playoffs, things can happen. The Commanders, I know they don't view it as house money, overplaying with house money. They really believe they're going to win the whole thing. It's not an act for them. They sit there, and when you look at what they've done, they just beat a Detroit Lions team that won 15 games. Now, Detroit And Jared Goff, unfortunately, not a great game for him. But in the moments where things rise, you want to see how poised players are. Commanders are poised. And for Jayden Daniels, I think that's the most impressive thing I think I've seen from him is his poise. Now, I want to be fair. We're not talking about what he could be in 5 to 10 years. We have an idea of what we think he can be. Now it's, can he continue to do that? But for right here, right now, Jayden Daniels is playing as good as anybody at the quarterback position. And now it's going to be at the biggest moment of his career so far, going against the best defense that he has faced now. And the Eagles are very, very good. Does he have an encore performance? We'll find out.
I'm picking up the mic. I'm picking up the mic because it's Overreaction Monday, and I'm going off. Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen. Those are the only 4 quarterbacks in the National Football League that are better than Jayden Daniels. The NFC, sorry, losers. It's his for the next 10 years. What we want to talk about cities of losers. How about a conference of losers? Because Jayden Daniels walked in rookie year and snatched everyone's chain. He came for everyone. And he's going into Philly next week, and he's going to do the exact same thing because he's better than Jalen Hurts. They have the quarterback advantage. I think they have the momentum. I think Saquon Barkley's the only thing standing between Washington and the Super Bowl. He can win the Super Bowl this year. Do I think they do it? I don't personally, because it's a rookie quarterback. But if you have a top 5 quarterback in football, which I believe Jayden Daniels is right now, you have a shot to win this thing. He's the 3rd best quarterback remaining. I don't think it's even close. I think Jalen Hurts is a good game manager. I think he's exactly what Philly needs. But if we're going off talent and everything, I mean, the poise of this kid is unreal. Nothing gets in this guy's head. It is absolutely unreal. A rookie quarterback going into hostile environment after hostile environment, just big time game winning plays, moments, clock ticking away, doesn't matter. Jayden Daniels has potential to be one of those like all-time great type players. And I'm telling you, if I'm the Lions, if I'm anyone in that fraudulent NFC North, I am terrified right now because the best quarterback in the NFC is currently a rookie with a team with $100 million in cap space and a lot of young, fun talent. I'm telling you, it's over in the NFC. They got to hope and pray that Ben Johnson gets something out of Caleb, or this could turn into a Kansas City. We see Washington in 7 straight NFC championships.
Damn. First off, a new shirt, and we're going to get it out in the presses. Zach Bollinger calls the NFC a conference of losers. Teams of losers. The shirts are printed already. 7 straight. Zach, I'm not doubting. I think we're all on the same page. I'm not doubting Jayden Daniels can go do it. But I was going to say, heal, Cinnamon, because in the same sense of it, everyone was ready to think, and I was right there, Brad, showing. I thought C.J. Stroud, they were banged up a lot this year, but C.J. Stroud didn't live up to the same year that he had last year. He's back in the playoffs, though. Their defense is really good. I think that Jayden Daniels is the dude, man. I do. I think he is. I think that the Commanders and everyone's first choice, obviously, Dan Quinn, which everyone was against, he was the right choice.
Yeah.
It's the right choice.
I was dead wrong on that.
I know
hand up.
what I'm saying.
I was too.
And you're looking for a leader of men. The bigger part is, can you match it with a guy, the offensive coordinator? So the Bears, they could have had this offensive coordinator, Cliff Kingsbury. He blended perfectly with Jayden Daniels. So it's been phenomenal to see. And there you go. Bulletin board,
baby.
No.
I'm telling you, it's the poise. The poise is what gets me. He's an unreal talent. He put it on display throughout the entire regular season, but it just, there's something about him when the ball's in his hand in the late moments, there's never a doubt. I genuinely, he gets the ball in the final minutes and I'm like, okay, they're going down to score. It's going to be the last second. It's going to be on some crazy play where he gets in as time expires, but they're going to find a way to do it.
Well, and Jayden Daniels has been getting better.
Yeah.
He's been getting better as the season has gone on, and this will now be the third time that he's faced the Philly defense, so he's very familiar with it. I think there's a very good possibility that the Commanders win this game.
If Saquon looks over and goes, watch this, or whatever the hell apparently people thought he said, and then he ran for a 70-some yard touchdown, Eagles are going to win the game. Kevin, if Saquon Barkley runs for 200 yards, the Eagles are going to win this game. But Jayden Daniels, man, I'll tell you what, 60% of the time, the Commanders could win every time because they have Jayden Daniels at quarterback. They believe.
Yeah.
Don't matter who the opponent is. You might have to keep that playoff beard for Commanders fans, Kevin.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call that.
Yeah, what? Captain Kevin Sparrow. I don't know.
Has a good ring to it. That has a good ring to it.
Do you know even what that's from? Do you know who that
Pirates
is?
of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow.
There you go.
I'm not that bad. I'm not that bad.
Oh, easy, Kevin. Easy, Kevin.
Man.
You're that bad. Well, hey, if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We do this live every Monday and Thursday, 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. Might go a little bit over because we got to talk a little bit of baseball. But this was good because we are Maryland-based, but we know a lot of people in the baseball world. They love the Ravens. They love the Orioles. But a lot of people who love the Orioles also love the Commanders. But guess what? Not everyone also doesn't hate the Nationals either. Like, it's a cool area, and it would have been so much cooler if the Commanders and the Ravens were playing this weekend. It really would have. It would have been awesome. It really would have. And right now, for the Commanders, they're moving on and have a chance to go to the Super Bowl, while the Baltimore Ravens, once again, are going to be looking at what 2025 can be and what could have been in 2024. So,
just real fast, I am mentally, like, my biggest fear was that it was going to be Ravens Commanders, and then we were going to have to spend 2 weeks telling people that Baltimore's not in the DMV, because everything would just be a DMV Super Bowl, a DMV Super Bowl. It's not in the DMV.
And it's always going to, like, people are always going to get it confused. It's never going to get better, which is the worst part. So
never, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh, okay. Should we dive a little baseball?
Yeah.
I think we have to.
Do we? I don't think
there's happier news in Major League Baseball for Baltimore.
Oh, most definitely.
Well, let's start with this first one. And by the way, I'm starting to pick it up a little bit. No, not really. I drank. Oh, I have a little more. Oh, I'm out of my coffee. Fellas, when I said that I was hurting this morning, I was hurting.
And that's without you jumping through a table.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't see a lot of table jumping through, but I did have a great piece of pizza out of a filing cabinet. Unbelievable wings. I dipped the sauce right in there, or the bread right in the sauce, double dipped. And I chugged out of a bowling ball. That was phenomenal. That was really a good time. Not a good time if you're a baseball fan and you don't like what the Dodgers are doing. Let's start with that, because we're going to go in a little chronological order. So the shocking news that Roki Sasaki, I can't believe Sasaki to the Dodgers. And then the Dodgers turn around right after that, and they signed Tanner Scott, who was the highly coveted reliever, probably the most highly coveted this offseason. Signs a 4-year, $72 million deal with those Dodgers. And, you know, I get it. It looks like the Dodgers are going to have a chance to compete this year. And I think their fans have been waiting for that for a long time.
They're true underdogs.
True underdogs, where the over and under might be set at 120 wins when it's all said and done. And, Brad, I know a lot of fans are going to be upset about that moving forward, because is there going to be a salary cap at some point? Are they the Monstars? Yes. I don't blame the players, though. You're going to go where the team's going to pay you, and you think you can win. Like,
right. Yeah, I mean, I don't fault the players at all. This isn't a player issue. This isn't even really a Dodgers issue, because if you have the money, you're going to spend it. Why not? Like, I'm not blaming the Dodgers. I'm not blaming the players. I do have a beef with the MLB. Like something's got to give. You can't just have the two biggest markets just because they have I don't know. You just can't have the two biggest markets, meaning like New York and LA, and all the other teams are just going to be mid for all of eternity. There's a reason why the NFL is so good at churning out money, and it's because there's some sort of parity involved. And I'm not saying that the MLB has to adopt exactly what the NFL does, but at some point, you're just going to get sick of the same teams losing all the time, and you're going to have a situation like you have with the A's more regularly, or these smaller market teams that are just going to get swallowed up by these bigger teams, and that's just not how the MLB should be.
Yeah, it's I would like to see something has to kind of change here with all the rules on deferred money and then the signing, because then that is a way for teams. One, they're like, hey, we're going to pay it off at a different point. And I don't blame the Dodgers. They literally are controlling not only the LA market, but they might as well control the Japan market as well.
Yes.
I know that the Orioles got Sagano, and I think he's great. He's fantastic. The Dodgers got the three most popular MLB players as far as hype in the last 2 years. What did you?
I tried to write bad for baseball, but it's given the blur thing, so it's not going to really.
Oh, there you go. Oh,
it's kind of working, but we can kiss the 2027 MLB season goodbye. They're going to have to go into a full lockout if this continues. This is just. Like you said, Brad, you can't fault the players, but something's got to change. I genuinely don't know. Like
salary cap.
But that's why you would do 2027. They would just lock out for the season, because the only way that baseball ever gets a salary cap is you would lose an entire year of baseball. You would have to lock out for a year. Something's got to change. Something has to change, because we can't. It's one thing when you had, 4 or 5 teams that always were a little bit higher than everyone else's salary and that thing. With the deferred money and everything, when you just have teams putting billions of dollars and deferring it, billions with a B, that's an issue. That's when it became an issue. And if you're just going to sign the best players and you got the money, like, that's one thing. But when you're deferring it so you don't have to pay it right away and you can get more elsewhere, all that, this is where I think baseball, it could go down a very, very slippery slope.
It's uncharted waters, and at least in this case, with where it's gone. And so I think that's the part where I want guys to get paid. I want things to be fun. The Dodgers are going to be one hell of a team to watch, but their team could be the all-star team in the National League. Like, it could just hey, welcome to the 2025 All-Star Game, and representing the National League at first base, second base, third base, the entire LA Dodgers roster.
It'd be like the Royals in 2015?
But on steroids, because they don't have a weakness. They they have 3 Hall of Famers to start off their lineup. Then they just got the best reliever in the pen. They have Blake Trinan. You have 6 relievers that could be number ones on your team. I love that. If I'm a fan, I want to go watch that. But as far as a competitive standpoint, if they stay healthy, they're the clear favorites. But it is baseball. You got to go out and play. And you have better chances, though, of not your whole team slumping when you have a lot of great players. It can happen. Anything can happen. But that is the situation that we're at. And then, of course, you see the reports after with Tanner Scott saying the Orioles were interested, the Red Sox, the Yankees, whatever it was. Guess what? Dodgers, chance to win, culture, maybe a destination you want to go to. All right, there he goes. He's there. So there's that, which then why I want to do it chronologically from Sasaki to Tanner. The Sasaki deal, which, as we all know, Toronto's been in on every single player, but they haven't landed them. I think the Sasaki deal then of him going to the Dodgers, then Toronto's like, we are getting somebody here. We are giving more money. So why don't we finally make it happen in the news? Tony Taters, Anthony Santander has reached an agreement with the Toronto Blue Jays, 5-year, $90 million is the report at the moment. And I think he has the option to possibly, there's incentives to have that be higher. And I know this stings for Orioles fans because you're like, damn, I love Tony. I don't want to see him in another uni. Clearly, to me, this was the biggest offer he definitely received. I want to hear if anyone comes out to say it, but he's getting at least 90 mil. And Teoscar Hernandez, granted, was a 3-year deal. I thought that Tony was going to have to settle for a 3-year deal, but clearly he got the security with the 5, and he got the security with at least 90 million going in the bag. But 18 million a year, that ain't a bad thing for a guy that's coming off hitting roughly 40 jacks and 100 plus ribbies, right, guys? So it's but yeah, is the 5-year deal going to be worth it? That's going to be the question.
That's going to be the big question. I don't know if it's here's what I'll say. The dollar amount's good for the Blue Jays. The contract length is good for Tony Taters. Yeah. I think that Anthony Santander is probably worth a 9-figure number. I was thinking more along the lines of like low 100s, maybe 120, probably what he would go for. But hey, the Blue Jays kind of got him at a discount, I think, from a dollar standpoint. The length doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And a lot of people, especially Orioles fans, will be wondering why the Orioles couldn't spend that kind of money. And then the thing of it is, since they could have, but if that's what Tony was asking for was a 5-year plus deal, there's no way the Orioles could have or should have done that. Not to mention that Santander's hit a lot of jacks, but his batting average hasn't been what it should be. And so I think that's one of the other big reasons that there's risk involved with Anthony Santander, because he can go on some crazy streaks. And so, that's why they moved on from him. And now they get a compensatory pick. So it's not all bad.
No, it's not all bad. I think that this was the hometown guy that people loved, and he's been the best hitter as far as production-wise and home runs, the extra base hits and RBIs the last 3 seasons. That's been Tony for the Orioles, but the 5-year deal. And right now, and I love Tony, he's sitting he'll be 31 this year or next October or this October technically. So 5-year deal, he's pushing to 35, 36. Are you expecting him to be that player for 5 years, or are you going to be happy with 3? I think the bigger part here is I'm still trying to figure out Toronto. I appreciate that they're in on guys, but there's still a lot of question marks around the Toronto Blue Jays. They're trying to keep up in the American League East that the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Orioles, and then Tampa's track record of just being there. Toronto has become the kind of, I don't want to say the most disappointing, but the most, with the team with the least expectations now in that division. So, yeah, I hope the best for Tony. I'm sure it was hard for him to go, but Kev, I think if you're Baltimore here and this is the conversation, if that's what it was going to take for Tony to stay, I think you got to see what other options, and it just further validates saying everyone's healthy. You got to figure out, is there an outfielder in your organization that can be it? And if not, you can start planning accordingly for future years.
Yeah, and it's not even about, looking to see if you have other options. The Orioles do have other options, and I think that obviously plays a big part here. And I agree with Brad where 18 million, I think, is a pretty good number for Toronto, but obviously the length of that deal is going to make it pretty interesting. And for Baltimore, it wouldn't have made sense to bring Tony back at that length. It just wouldn't have, because Heston, you can't block him anymore. Obviously, he's going to benefit from Tony being gone in terms of his role. And the hope is that he can turn into that consistent power hitter with every day or close to it playing time, depending on what happens and what roles these outfielders have, and if the Orioles want to platoon anybody with anybody else. And to me, I feel like that's the route that this team is going, where they want to not go all in on the young core, but they're going in on it, because we can be honest about it. We've all talked about it. The Orioles this season is going to live and die by that young core. It's going to live and die by, can Jackson Holliday take the next step? It's going to live by, can Adley Rutschman shake that second half slump and get back to the Adley that we know here in Baltimore? If Gunnar can continue doing those Gunnar Henderson things, if Grayson Rodriguez can stay healthy and be that number 1 stud ace, this is what it's going to take for this Orioles team to be competitive. The veteran moves, I know for a lot of people, losing Corbin and losing Tony, that those are tough blows, and that definitely hurts. I'm not trying to diminish the fact that the Orioles lost one of the best pitchers in baseball and arguably their biggest clubhouse guy, their biggest vet leader. It's going to take some time to work through that stuff. But the Orioles weren't going to go anywhere anyway if the young core doesn't progress like they need it to. And you can talk about moving off of guys or veteran talent or trading some of that young core. They've done some of that already. They tried it and they've moved pieces. They've tried. And I feel like, to me, if the young core doesn't produce the way that we're expecting it to, the season was a wash either way.
Yeah. I mean, these are the tough decisions you have to make. And I know people are going, well, hey, I'd love to see something. And especially with a guy that you feel wanted to reward, but keep this in mind. The time to extend Tony was before 2024 season. If you really were like, hey, we want to get this done, but as soon as the season happened, one, you don't really want to negotiate with guys during the season, because then a lot of guys talk about the mental side with Q. Start doing a little bit more when you play and thinking too much, putting pressure on yourselves. And I know a lot of players around baseball that when they get to that point, it messes with their head. So once the season started and Tony started doing what he was doing, yeah, he knew that his price then shot up. So you had to make a decision. Orioles knew that, hey, we're not going to be willing to pay that price. We appreciate you. We'll spend a little bit less, which they did on Tyler O'Neill, see if that fits. And we'll also see if a guy like Heston Kjerstad or whoever else we have can be that answer. And then you keep moving forward. But for Toronto, you get a guy that the last 3 years has been consistent, but going to a new environment, new place, can you continue to see that success offensively as far as those numbers production-wise? We'll find out. But do I think Toronto now with Santander, and I don't mean this in a bad way, do I think that this changes my opinion of where Toronto is in the division? No, I don't. I still sat with the fact that I thought it would have been great for him in Houston, and I think Houston's game would have been elevated. It's a good pairing with Bo Bichette, Vlad Guerrero Jr., and Santander. But I still am not a team where I'm sitting there going, damn, the Blue Jays now, to me, are moving up the AL East ranks. I'm not ready to say that yet. So that's all I have to say about that, guys. That's all I got.
Well, all right.
Yeah, I don't think the Blue Jays are like I said before, I am so confused by everything the Blue Jays are doing, because they sign Santander. They've been on every single person possible. They probably have tried to sign me. I just wasn't aware of it. But then at the same time, they're also like, if you give us enough for Vlad, he's yours. And it's like, okay, are we competing here? Are they playing this long-term game, but is part of the long-term game getting rid of Vlad, and now you're kind of having Tony for another rebuild that he has to go through? That's one of those, awesome for Tony, well-deserved over those 5 years, every single penny he earned, but not the best stability. I think in Toronto at the moment, I think at any second, as I said before, they will blow it all up. They have no issue of, hey, we got a good offer for Vlad. We're taking it. And now we're seeing what we can get for Bo. And we're going to see if we can do kind of a quick retool, more of a rebuild.
Yeah, they're in no man's land. Yeah. That's what they've been in. They were expected literally in 2023. A lot of people, even myself, I thought the Blue Jays were going to win that division. My prediction at the time was the Yankees and Red Sox would miss the playoffs, and the Orioles and the Blue Jays would make the playoffs. The Blue Jays win the division. Turned out that the Orioles won the division, and the Blue Jays just stunk, right? So, they have a roster of talented hitters with Bo and Vlad Guerrero Jr., but a team that hasn't put it together, and now they're in this twilight, and you got to make a choice. Do you look ahead and try to set your team up for the future, or are you going to continue to try to make something happen? But to make something happen, you haven't made enough pieces or shown in the previous years that they can do it, right? It'd be one thing last year if the Blue Jays, we had a ton of guys getting injured and it just didn't work out. For Orioles fans, I know there's skepticism about need to do more. The Baltimore Orioles made the playoffs the last 2 years. And a lot of those guys are still back. right? So at least with the moves in the offseason, you go, well, they still got a lot of guys. So I feel good that the Orioles, and again, Kev, you said it, and that's been my motto. You go as much as your young core. You see that. Toronto hasn't done anything the last 2 years that gives you that feeling of, yep, we're doing it. We're doing it, and we're gonna show everyone that we're taking that next step. They've struck out, and I hate the pun right off the bat. They struck out on all deals. D-. But they did. So we will see what happens. Best of luck to Tony. O's fans will always love him. They'll see him here in Baltimore when he faces off against the Birds. And no doubt in my mind, they're going to give him a standing O and an ovation and show him how much they appreciated his time in helping rebuild a Baltimore Orioles team to being back into contention and back into just being a part of being one of those teams again that Baltimore is very proud of. So new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. Do this live every Monday, Thursday, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Wednesday, we'll have our Hot Stove Happy Hour, just MLB talk from 6 to 7. And now it comes to the end of our pregame shows, guys, because the Ravens are out.
You had to bring it up?
Yeah, I had to. I did.
Ridiculous.
I did. I might take some more. Actually, I might need to detox myself, but I was going to say I have some Deep Eddy vodka to help me if I need to. I don't need it right now. I do not need it. Milk was the best.
But our football coverage is not over, though, Rip.
It's not. Football coverage is not over. Don't you worry. We're going to continue on because baseball's still going on, and we still have some things up our sleeve for football.
We do.
Can't tell you that yet, but we have some things under that. And Laura, hair of the dog, believe me, had hair of the dog on Sunday. Saturday was getting used to the Buffalo experience. Ate a ton of wings up there. I think I had 100 wings in 2 days. I will say.
The dream right there.
I did.
Boneless, obviously.
No, there was bone in for those, buddy. Bone in for those.
You're not doing it right then.
Yeah, well, you're in Buffalo, not the rest of America who thinks that's actually a wing.
They yeah. No. No. I should have asked people that. Is boneless a wing up there? Do you consider
they
it
would have
not?
beaten you?
Yeah, they would have kicked you out.
You talked about good hospitality. That shit would have ended so quickly if you brought that up.
Correct.
You would have been beaten with the bowling ball.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah. they do not mess around with that stuff. I feel like I've seen like some of the art, because obviously right now with and Bills fans all over the timeline, like I've seen over the past few months, like different like discourse from like Bills accounts. It is a big thing. Like they very passionate about wings there.
Well, I don't know, but I think I'm in. I think I've created a relationship, Zach. Okay. I think it's a bond.
Yeah, you'll ruin it with a boneless wing. I'm telling you.
All right, time out. You guys think looking at this right here from last night from the lots yesterday? Come on.
The energy's great.
Kidding me?
Fantastic. Got went live for a second. I'm with my group
Kidding
back
me?
home. Let's say hi for a second. Have you done the bowl? I haven't done. But I haven't done the bowling shot yet.
It's basically Vicks. It's cough syrup. Do you like Vicks?
I mean, I will.
Why did you bring so much fireworks in the game?
You look at all the love.
Everyone's great. I'm not doing one more. No, not yet.
Hold this real fast.
One more. What is this?
All I know is it's not really going anywhere, but it's
really good.
Telling you, man, this is what.
fans and our opponents, and we treat them the same.
Yeah.
Hear that? Treat them
phenomenal. And
better
also,
way.
is there any secret with the pizza, or you're not allowed to say it?
I can't reveal my.
Don't reveal your secrets. Whatever you're doing, I got to say it was the best pizza I've had here. By far. By far. Can I have it?
Hell yeah.
So you're telling me that if my opinion on wings, or I just say I like bone,
you would have been done though.
Yeah. Pizza Pete would have kicked your ass. He would have taken that pizza right out of your mouth.
Big time.
I don't know. I think we had a bonding moment right there.
Yeah, then insult them with a boneless wing and tell me how that works out for you.
Yeah. Shout out
chicken
Nick.
nugget. Basically,
Shout
is
out
what
Nick.
it is.
Shout out Pete. Shout out Kenny. Kenny's actually Pinto Ron's real name. Up there. It's a backstory.
Nice.
That you know what, Kevin? You're going to go up there next year. We'll douse. Pinto Ron will be in the ketchup and mustard, and you can get doused in straight.
What?
I'm trying to think about which condiment. Is it relish? Oh,
Relish.
There's the relish. Yes, you get people just throw relish at you.
Right. I feel like if we're in Buffalo, I feel like buffalo sauce is the appropriate thing.
No,
can you
Get it?
imagine?
Get it? Get it?
I'm just trying to visualize Ryan actually asking somebody up there for boneless wings and just getting their reaction. That would have been the ultimate content.
Look, I love both. What's wrong with that?
Well, I
Nothing as long as you can admit that it's a chicken
is Rocco
nugget, not a
boneless? Is
boneless
Rocco
wing.
boneless guy?
I don't know. Yeah, he's bone in.
Yeah, he's
a lot.
bone in.
I guess I will defend boneless wings with my owner then.
Okay, well, chicken nuggets. That actually checks. That's. I mean,
checks
are they dinosaur shaped boneless wings, Kevin?
I mean, I'm not complaining if they are.
Yeah, that's a chicken nugget, bro.
We could have this conversation for a while. We can talk about chicken nuggets, boneless buffs, regular wings, rooster bites. Think about that. That is actually, I could use those right now from
Yeah.
that rooster. Shout out on rooster. That's the one thing that you guys devour if you have to get packs of that.
Every time.
Like, hey, can we get one? And then it's gone. So we have to get like 4.
Every
Because you-
time we get an order from the Iron Rooster, it's whatever we want from like our regular entree. Oh yeah, and then like 4 orders of Rooster Bites.
Yeah, I think he just knows to add one to every order now for Kyle. And shout out Kyle and the Iron Rooster. Appreciate you guys. OG for us as well. Honestly, don't know where we'd be without them. We don't know where we'd be without any of you guys. So if you're new to the channel and you want to become a channel member, hit that like and subscribe button. The subscription helps us make this content better for each and every one of you. We are in the process of getting Brad a new chair that he broke in studio. So that's why no one else is in here, because all the chairs are broken.
Yeah.
Just kidding. The group's separated, but we appreciate you. Guys, any final words before we head on out for this?
Shout out to Joe.
Oh.
I cannot physically do this. I don't think I used all of my potato eating powers the first time I did it. Took me like 2 hours to do it, but Tony and I will always have that moment together, even though it was not together.
I would love to tell Tony about that.
I would not.
Okay. Kevin sat on stream by himself because everyone else had to leave, and then rewatched old streams live while just eating 2 completely raw potatoes.
Yeah. Shout out to Aviator. I know he's not a football guy, but shout out to Aviator for bringing that donut through.
Yeah, that was like the beginning of the big challenges.
Yeah.
Into many more challenges.
Many more, including my 2 corn dogs an inning. 18 corn dogs in a game.
You're not eating 18 corn dogs.
I will do it.
Why?
I'm weak. My weakness is hot dogs, and my strength is corn dogs.
Oh boy, I can't wait for baseball season.
It's gonna be fun.
All the shenanigans.
I'm ready to freak out at like 3 p.m. on a Tuesday because of who's batting 7th. Like, I'm just ready for that internet to be back. Like the backup. We got Jorge Mateo giving Jackson Holiday a day off, and people just melt down on a random Wednesday. It's just beautiful. The O's are fine.
Yeah, can't wait for the O's are fine, baby.
I told you I would never root against the Orioles, but an Orioles start the season 0-1 with a loss on opening day, followed by a rip the O's are fine tweet might break the internet.
We'll bring it back, We'll bring it back. We're bringing the O's are fine back. Yeah, Kevin. All right, fellas. I think, bringing it back. We're bringing the Ozer.
Well, I'm very glad you decided not to tweet the Ravens are fine after they lost. That
I
was
should have. My phone literally was freezing yesterday. Like I couldn't get back into the stream. The service connection was really brutal up there. And I literally couldn't feel my hand either. I was trying to push the button. It didn't work.
tragic.
Tragic. You know what, guys? I think that's it for today's show. Great show, by the way. And I know it's virtual. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you to Q for joining us. Nick Moore will be back on Thursday. He just let me know. A lot going on with Nick. Obviously, long trip and getting his ducks in a row. But Nick Moore will be back on Thursday. We'll talk a little bit more to kind of wrap up this Ravens season. But, Brad, like you alluded to, we have more in store that we can't share with you guys yet, but should be a fun end to the football season. We still got a few more weeks before that ends, and we make our full shift over to baseball season. So, cue the because they're playing the Blue Jays. Wow. Hey, for all of our friends here at the Ryan Ripken Show, we appreciate each and every one of you. Have a day, have a night, have a great stinking Monday, and we will see you on Thursday for a brand new edition of the Ryan Ripken Show.